send to our allies? B, how should we be treating Iran right about now?
Well, the president, I think, made three big mistakes. First, he minimized the strike against a U.S.-flagged aircraft in international airspace. It wasn't an accident, as the president suggested. It was a third effort by Iran to down U.S. aircraft. The first was successful over Yemen the week before last, and they shot at one of our Predators, which would put over top the stricken tanker the week before last. It was a third effort by Iran to down U.S. aircraft. The first was successful over Yemen the week before last, and they shot at one of our Predators, which would put over top the stricken tanker the week before last. And they over top the stricken tanker the week before last.
Claiming that Iran carried out the suspected coordinated attack yesterday against two tankers. Iran's foreign minister denies it, saying that the accusations are part of a campaign against Iran. But the U.S. is pointing to this video released overnight, saying that it shows Iran removing evidence from one of the tankers. The attack happened near the Strait of Hormuz, a strategic waterway for global oil shipments, and a gateway for a third of the world's crude oil. So joining me now from the Pentagon is CBS News national security correspondent David Martin. David, you are going to give us some clarity, help us understand just how serious the situation is. But what can the U.S. do with this new video? I'm looking at the video. I don't know what I'm looking at. I know that it's grainy, but the U.S. also has to convince its allies in the region that this is legitimate evidence.
Well, looking at the video, you sort of have to take the word of U.S. intelligence.
There was a similar attack, I think, on a little bit in May, another attack on a tanker. At the time, there's a lot of pushback from our international allies about the U.S. providing enough evidence to prove that Iran was involved. But now we have this second situation. You just mentioned that, it might not be enough to just determine whether or not Iran was involved, because even if you can provide proof that Iran was involved, there are going to be some of our allies that are going to say, well, what do you expect? The pressure has been so intense on Iran. But two attacks, will that perhaps have an impact on the international response, do you think?
It's the owner of the tanker. Oh, what? Oh, shit. The Americans are lying. That's what he said. The Americans are full of shit. It was a rocket shot from a drone. No, he didn't say a rocket, but he said a flying object hit it. Want to bet?
The crew had to evacuate the scene as well. There have been such attacks not too long ago, right?
Right, about a month ago, May 12th to be exact, there were tankers attacked by probably a typical attack method by Iran, the limpet mines. That had their hulls punctured by explosions.
And just like last time, Washington did not hesitate to pin the blame on Tehran. Here's what U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo had to say about the situation.
It's unmistakable what happened here. These were attacks by the Islamic Republic of Iran on commercial shipping on the freedom of navigation with a clear intent to deny transit through the strait. This was on the Gulf of Oman side of the Strait of Hormuz. There's no doubt the intelligence community has lots of data, lots of evidence. The world will come to see much of it.
Tada says the damage is on a part of the ship's hull that's above the waterline. He also says the crew saw objects flying before the explosion, as well as an Iranian naval vessel. He didn't elaborate on its presence any further. The United States, though, they've provided what they say is evidence that Iran is responsible for the latest attacks in the Gulf. The U.S. military has released a video which it says shows
oil tankers attacked in the Gulf of Oman said that the crew of the ship saw flying objects just before the ship was hit, a claim which would appear to contradict the U.S. government's suggestion that mines were involved. On Friday, Yutaka Kitada, the chief executive of Japanese shipping company Kokuka Sangyo, reportedly discussed the incident with reporters in Tokyo. Kitada reportedly said that the ship could not have been attacked by mines or a torpedo, as objects seen by the crew were above the water. Business Insider reports that the attacks near the Strait of Hormuz, a crucial oil route, has caused oil prices to surge and could result in a showdown between the U.S. and Iran.
blaming Iran for attacks on 2 oil tankers earlier today. And who believes this? Because I know I don't. So let's just give you some of the background here. This is from CNBC. The U.S. Central Command is sending additional troops and weaponry to the Middle East, a move that senior officials have said is necessary to confront increased threats from Iran. There are no increased threats from Iran. Iran is not trying to pick a fight with the United States. That's the last thing Iran wants. They do not want war with the United States. That is not what Iran wants. There is no benefit to Iran for this. Not one. Not one. Iranian officials deny involvement. Quote, suspicious doesn't begin to describe what likely transpired this morning, unquote. That's what the Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif said Thursday on Twitter. Yeah, suspicious doesn't even begin to describe this. So the good news about all of this is that when this attack happened, I went to Twitter and the Gulf of Tonkin was trending. So people are opening their eyes to the fact that the United States narratives are often a bunch of bullshit.
You know, and they do believe in false flags and lying and doing these different things. And this is this could be a false flag. It could be somebody that's deliberately planning to antagonize and escalate the war. Maybe somebody's thinking, well, Trump says he wants to talk to him, and Abe's over there. He's talking.
All around up here. Japanese tanker owner denies ship being hit by mine. Instead says a crew saw flying objects before the attack. So sailors on board the Courageous saw flying objects just before the ship was hit. So, you know, that's one of many reasons, I'm sure, why Shinzo Abe is not going for anything militaristic at this point. It's like
having optionality and wiggle room, but A, what kind of signal does this send to our allies? B, how should we be treating Iran right about now?
Well, the president, I think, made 3 big mistakes. First, he minimized the strike against a U.S. flagged aircraft in international airspace. It wasn't an accident, as the president suggested. It was the 3rd effort by Iran to down U.S. aircraft. The first was successful over Yemen the week before last, and they shot at one of our Predators, which we put over top the stricken tanker the week before last, and then they took down, for the first time, a U.S. flag carrier in international airspace over international waters. So first, he minimized it. Second, he yanked the operation out from under the troops, and I think anytime you give a command downrange, you have to have clarity and discipline. You don't want the troops at the strike group commander level or the wing commander level looking over their shoulder, wondering whether or not the president is going to pull back into order. And third, he told an obvious falsehood that he called it off because of civilian casualties. We all know he was briefed about that hours before. That was not the reason. I think he just lost his nerve. What should we do? I think we have to be prepared for military action, and everyone should not be breathing a sigh of relief. If the Iranians now feel emboldened by the president's lack of action and they take another shot at one of our aircraft in international airspace, I think it's going to be game on. I think we have to tighten the screws, get our allies lined up. Our posture in the region has to be pretty aggressive. I like the sanctions action, and I think there are other ways to pressurize them. But ultimately, we have to know what our end game is, drive them back to the negotiating table and get back into this Iran deal.
You're honest. Hell, I like you. You can come over to my house and fuck my sister. You little scumbag! I got your name. I got your ass. You will not laugh. You will not cry. You will learn by the numbers. I will teach you. Now get up. Get on your feet. You had best unfuck yourself or I will unscrew your head and chip down your neck. Are you shook up? Are you nervous? Or what? Were you about to call me an asshole? Do you suck dicks? Are you a Peter Puffer? I'll bet you're the kind of guy that would fuck a person in the ass and not even have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around. I'll be watching you.
I want to share it with you because it is just so poignant before we move on here to talk about how this parallels with the Gulf of Tonkin. But this is a quote from Nazi Hermann Göring, and he said during the Nuremberg trials, he says, quote, naturally the common people don't want war, neither in Russia, nor in England, nor in America, nor for that matter in Germany. That is understood. But the people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That is easy. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same way in every country. That is exactly what is going on here. Our government is now saying that we're under attack. The Iranians are attacking oil tankers. They're attacking, they've done this before. They're doing it again. We're under attack. And hey, listen up, American people. We need to go to war now. And if you don't want to go to war, and if you speak out against it, then you're a pacifist. And